our last episode, we cleaned up this old Airline amplifier and just replaced the caps in the power supply and fired it back up, but it still had a lot of static in it. Well, since then, our parts have come in from Tube Depot. I'm not sponsored by them, but I like getting my capacitors from them. We've got our schematics. We're gonna go from this schematic here, which is the Airline schematic, and we're gonna wire it up like the old Fender Princeton style and see what kind of tone we can get out of it. Well, it's a rainy day here at the lab, but that makes a perfect day for working on tube amps. So get us a cup of coffee and y'all sit back and relax, and we'll get back on this old Airline amplifier. All right, let's see why this Airline amplifier sounds the way it does. I'm gonna start with a tone control right here, and honestly, it explains a lot. This isn't like a Fender tone stack at all. All you got here is a capacitor that's going to ground. So what it's doing is it's just bleeding all the high frequencies to ground, and that's it. No mid control, no real shaping, just more treble cut as you turn it down. So right off the bat, we're working with a very limited tone circuit. Now let's look at these coupling capacitors here. You got an 005 and some 01s, which are pretty small compared to something like a Fender Princeton. Those are a lot bigger. So what this means is the amp is cutting out all the low end before it even gets amplified. That's why these amplifiers tend to sound thinner and more mid-focused. Now here's a big one. Look at the cathode resistor on the 12AX7. There's no bypass capacitors on either stage. That's a big deal because without those caps, you lose gain and you lose low end response. So this amp ends up sounding kind of stiff and not as full or lively. Now on top of that, there's no negative feedback in this loop design. Not like this Fender Princeton schematic where you see there's negative feedback coming from the speaker back to the 12AX7. This is just raw, but not in a controlled or refined way. And then if you look at the plate resistors, you've got a 270K on one stage right here, and then you got 100K going to the other stage, which is mismatched. So the gain structure is a little uneven, which adds to that kind of quirky, unpredictable sound. So when you put all this together, small caps, cutting the bass, no bypass caps, reducing gain, a super basic tone control, and no negative feedback, you end up with an amp that's thin, mid, heavy, and kind of raw. But the good thing about this amp is you got all the basic parts in it as a Princeton. So what we're gonna do, all right, on this Princeton schematic, you can see right away we've got negative feedback coming from the speaker. We've got a 500 picofarad capacitor on one side of the tone pot and a 5,000 picofarad capacitor on the other side, which gives us a better tone control from treble to bass. The cathode resistors each have a bypass capacitor on them on the 12AX7 and the 6V6. So we're going to wire it up like this, and I'm going to do a side-by-side sound comparison from the old amp, the way it sounded before we've done this, and then after we've rewired it. So stick around. Okay, we're just about ready to fire up this old amp. We still have the tubes that came in it. We just need cleaning up a little bit. So we're gonna clean them. You have to be careful right here where the lettering is, because it'll wipe off real easy. You just blot at it. So we take a little Windex. Apply just a little bit on the rag. See how that works. Being careful not to wipe where the lettering is. Just want to blot it. Barely wipe. This is still on there pretty good. But this tube hadn't been used much. Focus. There you go, looks like a brand new one.
Thank you, Dr. Ohm.
You're welcome.
Hey, what about me?
I'll get to you. Let's see if we can crack this thing open. It's like trying to shuck an oyster. Over the years, dirt and grime gets in here and gets in between the contacts. And that's what causes a lot of static and crackling noises when you turn it. Like it's got some dried up grease inside. We'll clean that out. The carbon track looks pretty good. Doesn't look like it's been used that much. It's not wore out. That's a good sign. This is the centerpiece that the center contacts ride on. Cleaned it up real good. Now if I can remember how it come off of here. I think it goes this way. Oh, I grabbed the wrong can. Spray a little electrical lube on it. Pat the excess off. Put the shaft back in. Clean all this old grease out, put some new in it. I'm using silicone lube that I use for my 3D printer. It'll work good here. Now just press these tabs back down. Now it's good as new. All right, here's what I changed on the Princeton schematic. I put a 47 UF capacitor here instead of a 25 on the cathode bypass. Put a 1.5K grid stopper right here, and we put a 120 PF capacitor between the wiper on the volume and the end coming in from the input from the first 12AX7 to help a little bit with the tone on low volume. And since the Airline amp had 500K pots instead of the 1 meg that's in the Princeton, I put a 0033 UF capacitor right here on this end going to ground off of the tone to kind of help shape the tone a little bit better there. And that's it. The rest of it's just like the Princeton amp is. And here's a shot of it after it's all wired up like the Princeton amp. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for, the side by side. All right, now we got it all back together and wired up like a Princeton amp. Let's see what it sounds like. Oh yeah, I can already tell it sounds a lot better. Let's see what it sounds like dirty. Now let's turn it up a little bit and wide open. All right, here's a look at the back side of it after we've got it all back together. I was able to get a number off the speaker which dates this amp to 1962. All right, here it is all cleaned up as best as I could get it. I used a magic eraser on most of the outside of it. And here it is outside in the sunshine for the first time in a long time. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stick around and subscribe. Next on the bench, we've got this 1972 Yamaha YTA 95. Came to me blowing fuses every time you turn it on. We'll see if we can get it fixed. Thanks for watching.